Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank y'all so much for having me. I really appreciate y'all making the time on a Tuesday evening, but also really appreciate y'all welcoming me to talk about the recent Leandro decision. So I'm going to start by introducing myself, and then I want to just tell you a little bit about, reiterate some key things about Leandro and some key things about the Leandro plan, and also what we saw the North Carolina Supreme Court do on Thursday. So, as Rebecca mentioned, my name is Chris Brook. I am an attorney in the law offices of Patterson Harkavy, and I previously served on the North Carolina Court of Appeals in 2019 and 2020. I was appointed to that court by Governor Cooper when he was governor of the state. So, the first question I want to tackle is what should every North Carolinian know about Leandro? And I expect, maybe there's some different answers this evening on the Zoom about what the answer to that question should be. But I think that I'm going to cheat a little bit and say there are two things that everybody should know about what Leandro is. And, the first thing I think is that our state constitution is different than our federal constitution. And it says that school children have a guarantee, that the Constitution guarantees them a sound, basic public education. And every North Carolina school child has that guarantee. So I think that that's the first thing that you should know. That's not in the federal Constitution. It's in our North Carolina Constitution, and something that's unique and special about the North Carolina Constitution. And the second thing that I think is incredibly important to know is that historically, whether school kids have the right to a sound basic education is not something that has been divided along partisan lines. It's not been a situation where Republicans feel this way, Democrats feel this way, and the court has divided on Republican versus Democratic grounds historically. The Leandro litigation, as I assume most of y'all know, has been going on for 32 years, since I was in high school at Broughton High School in Raleigh, North Carolina, a public school student, right? And the first Leandro decision from 1998, Republican judges and Democratic judges came together and said, we agree that our state constitution guarantees and protects the rights of students to a sound basic education. So, a lot of things now are divided by partisanship. This has not been something that historically has been divided that way. So what is the Leandro plan? First, I want to just flag, how we came up with the Leandro plan. It came about because schools, basically the state and advocates for kids and school districts have fought for a long period of time early on in the Leandro litigation about what the Leandro plan might look like, and also about whether the state was failing to provide a sound basic education. But in 2017, the state and advocates for school children came together and put the Leandro plan before the court. Before, at that point, Judge Lee, who was presiding over the trial court proceedings in the case at that moment in time. And I think it bears mentioning at that moment in time that the legislature knew about the fact that there were these debates between the legislature and between the state and the advocates about what should be included in this plan. And the legislature, didn't intervene in the case at that point in time. So it was really the state represented by the executive branch and the advocates for school districts and for school children hammering out a plan. And that plan was ultimately adopted in 2019 by Judge Lee, and it had a number of different components. A system of teacher development and recruitment. We are going to recruit strong teachers into our public school classrooms. We are going to provide them with professional development so that they can improve in the classrooms. And we are going to use those tools to retain and build the best teachers that we can. Similarly, a system of principal development and recruitment was part of the Leandro plan. And there was also parts of the Leandro plan, a finance system providing for adequate, equitable, and predictable funding for school districts across our state, an assessment and accountability system, reliably assessing multiple measures of student performance against key Leandro standards, assistance and turnaround support, providing support for schools or students that are struggling. That's some of the clients that I represented with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg NAACP at-risk students who face challenges in public schools. A system of early education providing access to high quality pre-K, and alignment of high school to post-secondary and career expectations. A lot of things that if you sort of had a wish list of things that we would like to provide more resources for schools and for students, you would expect to be in the plan. That was what the Leandro plan was all about. And Judge Lee, when he was presiding over the case at the trial court level, signed off on a consent agreement. The parties got together, the executive branch, those advocating for students, got together and agreed on this Leandro plan. And Judge Lee ordered the transfer of funds from the legislature to provide and fully fund the Leandro plan. And in 2022, that plan went up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, yes, enough is enough. This case at that point had been going on for 28 years. And they said, listen, we as the court can enforce our Constitution. And we don't have to sit on the sideline and watch another generation of students not have the resources in their classes, in their classrooms, and in their schools that they need. We can, at this point in the litigation, nearly 3 decades into the litigation, we can order the legislature to fund the Leandro plan. And that's what the court said in 2022. So you would think, okay, the state Supreme Court has decided that will be that. Unfortunately, that was not the case. The state Supreme Court in early 2023 voted to rehear the Leandro litigation. I don't want to sort of get too far in the weeds. I'm happy to answer any questions after I wrap up. But suffice it to say, that decision to rehear the case was unprecedented. The court generally does not rehear cases for reasons you can well imagine, right? Once we've rendered a decision, that decision needs to be final so that we can move forward with providing the relief that's been ordered. But in the very rare cases where the state Supreme Court has reheard cases, it's been because there's been a change in the facts or they got something wrong factually in their original opinion. That was not the case here. None of the facts changed. None of the players changed. None of the key elements behind what was necessary to provide a sound basic education changed. But nonetheless, really in an unprecedented decision, the state Supreme Court chose to rehear the case. They reheard it more than 2 years ago. It also bears mentioning that Justice Phil Berger Jr., a member of the Supreme Court, sat on the Supreme Court when this case was heard. If that name rings a bell, it's because his father is the leader of the state Senate. So the state Supreme Court had ordered and found that the legislature was not living up to its constitutional obligations to our kids. And one of the key players in that failure was Senator Berger. His son is sitting on the Supreme Court, essentially judging and assessing his father's homework. So ultimately, the court decided last Thursday in a 4-3 decision that the court did not have subject matter jurisdiction and they had to dismiss the case. They basically said this was not a statewide case when it started, and it slowly changed into a statewide case, and we lost the jurisdiction to hear the case. The majority strongly suggested that they would never sort of sign off on a comprehensive remedy to ensure that all students across the state receive a sound basic public education. Again, it was a 4-3 vote. Justice Berger was in the majority. So Justice Berger's decision was decisive in this case. He cast the tie-breaking vote. The dissenters, there were 3 folks who dissented from this decision. Again, this was a bipartisan dissent. There were 3 separate dissents that were written, 2 by Democrats on the court, 1 by a Republican on the court. And all of them agreed that the court could hear the Leandro litigation, should hear the Leandro litigation, and could hear challenges to whether the state was living up to its obligation to provide a sound basic education. And 2 of the dissenters made very plain that while courts could not sort of jump in the first instance to make the North Carolina General Assembly pay up and essentially provide for a sound basic education, that at some point there needs to be essentially a way of enforcing the state constitution. This cannot just be a paper promise. The court needs to, if it finds, as courts have found over the course of, in this case, 32 years, that we're not living up to our obligations to provide a sound basic education, then courts can order the state, including the state legislature, to essentially pony up the funds that are necessary to provide the resources for students across our state, from the wealthiest school districts to the most low wealth school districts, that all of those should be able to provide a sound basic education so that all students can thrive in their classrooms and fulfill their hopes and expectations. So that was what happened on Tuesday. Sorry to ramble on for a moment, but that's probably a good place to stop, and a good little overview, hopefully, that sort of brings you up to speed on where we're at with the Leandro litigation. Happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
We have about like a few minutes for questions, and I'm going to take Marlene Scott.
Okay. I would like if Chris could talk a little bit more about specifically what made them decide that schools didn't need this funding. Were they looking at North Carolina's performance scores for every school? Can you give us a little bit of a snippet as to why all of a sudden, boom? Or is it the political climate that we kind of see today that you might feel or we might feel that's kind of influencing that?
Ms. Scott, that's an excellent question. And I want to underline this. No one on the court said or argued that schools don't need more funding and more resources. No one on the court argued that the state was fulfilling its obligations when it comes to providing students with a sound basic education. No one made those arguments. The court's ruling was not a substantive ruling saying, oh, well, there is a constitutional obligation, but it's being fulfilled. It was a procedural ruling. It basically just said, this case, we don't have jurisdiction over this case because the case has changed over the course of the years. It started in Hoke County and Cumberland County and five total low wealth school districts in the eastern portion of our state. But there were always sort of statewide remedies that were sought in the litigation, even going back to the 90s. But to I think you're highlighting one of the frustrations that a number of us have. I think we all know that the state can and should be doing more. for school children in the state of North Carolina. And no one on the court sort of had the audacity to suggest anything different than that. They simply suggested that there was essentially a procedural wrinkle that prevented the Leandro plan from going forward and being fully implemented.
Thank you, Rebecca. Well, frustrating as usual, but it's just another opportunity, unfortunately, for North Carolina politicians to take our tax dollars and decide what they're going to do with it instead of what's right for the future of our state. It's a sad day that you can overlook the constitutional right of every child in North Carolina on procedural issues. I call it in my business shopping for answers. If I have a parent that doesn't like no, they just shop the next group until they finally find an answer they like. And that's what our legislation has done with our judicial system. And recently, of course, when I voted, one of the main concerns the wife and I had was I could care less about your party, even though I'm a Republican. What I care about, if you're elected, are you going to uphold the tenets of your office? Are you going to do what's right when it comes down to it? Are you going to go along party lines and disenfranchise 1.4 million children in the state of North Carolina for a party line? And let's just face it, the problem is DNA that has a last name called Berger. So that's the problem. You had him on the court. He should have been thrown out. I would have recused myself because I had some ethical value. I would not have heard the case because my dad sat in the legislature. And it's well known since 2013 what Phil Berger has done to the state of education in North Carolina. We have turned North Carolina into a state of the have and have-nots. So we don't even have to get into racism. It's basically if you have enough money to pour money into a PAC fund, Republican PAC funds, or support people that run for office, you will get what you want, whether it's vouchers. We didn't have a problem sending $500 million in vouchers at the drop of a hat. No questions asked, but the legislator found the ability to say they could do that without accountability. Again, someone needs to hold the legislators accountable. And we can say the taxpayers, but that doesn't really work when we're in a situation across our country where money negates who's getting voted in and who's not. So again, very frustrated, and I continue to see the education system in North Carolina become resegregated. And I won't go as far as to mention Jim Crow, but we're pretty close back to those days. And it is sad to live in this state and be a citizen in this state when we will not invest in the most important asset we have, and that's our children. Shame on us. And I'll stop there before I say too much.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. James, for your words and also for your leadership. Dr. James is the only superintendent in the state of North Carolina who reached back out to the I Am Leandro campaign after we sent resolutions statewide. We sent resolutions to every single county commissioner, every single school board member, every single superintendent in the state of North Carolina. And Dr. Jeff James is the only one who had the courage to say, this is taxation without representation. In my district deserves better. My kids deserve better. He used his voice. Miss Marlene Scott, Miss Jada Jonas, they use their positions of power, their positions of influence to speak up for their districts. And I don't know why 114 other districts who stood to be precluded from this case, from any remediation whatsoever, I don't know why they stood silent. But you guys didn't. And this is what this is about. It's about learning how to use your voice. It's learning how to say where you are, you have a voice, you have a story, and you can speak up. And just like they use their voices, each of you have a story, each of you have a position, each of you have a circle of influence that needs to know what happened to Leandro. Because Leandro doesn't have to die if we remember it, because Leandro is all of us. It's every single one of us, every single CEO looking for an employee. You are Leandro. Every single person who believes that democracy and rule of law are not up for debate and children's constitutional rights are not up for debate or discussion. You are Leandro. That would be me. But someone else has a very important story to share, and that person is Mrs. Lisa Famillo, and she shared very poignantly from her point of view why she is Leandro, and I wanted to give her an opportunity to share a few words.
Thank you, everyone. Pleasure to be here with you all tonight. Concur with everything that's been said so far. Very sad time in our state's history. I think, my perspective may be a little different than others, but it comes from a very personal experience. And so I'm currently the executive director of the Iredell County Partnership for Young Children. I've been involved in this work. We're a Smart Start partnership, so focus on early care and education, birth to age 5, supporting families and caregivers. And this work became very personal for me when I became a new mom. And so just quick, it's hard to share it in a nutshell, but the Cliff Notes version is I married my high school sweetheart when I was 19 years old. We moved to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. He was enlisted in the Army. And neither one of us came from a strong upbringing. We didn't have that foundational support from healthy parents. My childhood was full of addiction, abuse, neglect, violence, homelessness, even. And I really struggled with how would I be a mom? How could I be a mom without receiving the foundation and the tools that I needed to be successful? And so when I found myself, I was pregnant with my first child living at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I had no support system, no family support system. I was literally alone. And I was terrified that I was going to repeat the generational cycles of abuse that had plagued my family. So I enlisted the help of a parent educator through the Smart Start Network at the time. I enrolled in a program called Parents as Teachers, and I had a parent educator who helped me not only learn how to be a parent, but how to parent a child who ended up having some very unique needs. My son was diagnosed with a neurological disorder, an eye disorder, and a motor disorder, none of which were curable. And so now I was tasked with how do I provide this child with the services and the resources he needs when I don't even know how to be a parent. And that parent educator changed my life, changed the direction of my son's life. And we were connected with the resources that we needed. He received early intervention assessments. He received physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, you name it, from UNC Chapel Hill. And all of this while my husband was deployed a total of 9 times. I was literally a geographic single mom trying to navigate the system. And I always say, like, I stand before people today as a true success story. Had I not had that intervention at such a young age, had my son not had that intervention at such a young age, he would not be the successful young man that he is today. And so I call him, he's my Smart Start baby. And I am Leandro. I am a product of early intervention and what Leandro stands for. And it breaks my heart to see the place that we are and how far backward we have gone. And it also terrifies me because now I've been in this work for 25 years, right? And so I understand more about the systems. I understand more about navigating the systems. I have access to resources, and most of our families don't. Most of our families do not have the access, the resources, or the knowledge to navigate these complex systems. And our children and families are falling through the cracks. We are failing them. And it is really terrifying to see that no action is being taken when we have an entire roadmap laid out in front of us. I'm going to stop there because I'll talk all day.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your story. And that's the life-saving, the quality of life that could happen in North Carolina and the trajectories we can change if we fully fund our public schools. I'm going to drop a few things in the chat. We're going to drop in a couple of links that talk about the Leandro plan, some of the benefits. But in a nutshell, you guys have heard it. Every child would have access to a sound basic education. The children who are most vulnerable now, who do not have that chance to go to early childhood education, they would have that chance. The children, every child would have the opportunity to get essentially not necessarily a cradle to career, but a pre-K to career opportunity, whether they would either be on the track for college and career or vocation. And we would be aligning what we teach in high schools and middle schools to emerging job opportunities. We would be changing the economy when these kids are in sixth grade. That could be happening in North Carolina if we would fund the Leandro Comprehensive Remedial Plan. The school rooms that are not properly resourced right now, that would change too. You would not see chemistry labs with no chemistry lab. That wouldn't happen. The people who need new books, they would have those books. They wouldn't be dumpster diving like my father's schools did in the 50s or 60s when those schools were segregated. They would not be doing, you wouldn't see rural counties having to borrow books or get hand-me-downs from wealthier counties. That would not happen anymore if we had the Leandro Comprehensive Remedial Plan. And I want to go ahead and give you guys a chance to process. What does Leandro mean to you? Why is it important to you? And what is your story to tell? And we're going to drop that link in the chat. And the reason why this is so important is because the way we're going to, I believe that there is still a path forward. And I've said this for a long time, and a lot of people got really nervous when I said it. I said that Leandro has been prevailing in the courts of law for over 30 years. This battle is a matter of justice, and it has to go to the court of public opinion.
I just keep remembering how we used to have opportunity for kids who, because we're always talking about the other kids. So I'm going to give you an example of a different kid. I remember my brother, he got in trouble almost every day, first grade, and I think then in second grade, and the teacher made him stand in the corner. And my mom said, well, has he finished his work? He'd always finish his work. He was like one of the first kids to finish, but then he didn't have anything to do. And so he figured it out on his own and pestered everybody else. So then he got into trouble. So, and this is back in 1970 something. And so, they called my mom in and she said, well, what are the opportunities do you have? Because obviously he's already learned the material, he can do it. You know, is there something else you could give to him rather than it be more of the same kind of work? And mom was a pretty smart lady, so they had to really think, but they had funding enough because they had what was called a gifted and talented program. So she had two options. She could advance him to the next grade, or they told her he could attend the gifted and talented additional opportunity to expand his learning. And at the time, it was a pullout, it wasn't inclusive. Okay. So she did not move him to the next grade because it would be detrimental to me because he would be in the same grade as me. And she knew I was one of the middle kids that was different. So she agreed for him to go to the advanced classes. He did marvelous. He enjoyed what he did. He took his learning, he created things, it was hands-on. He was in competitions and it elevated him. There was no more behavior issues after that. He became the well-loved, beloved child, went to NC State, la, la, la. So Leandro, Leandro also supports that student, the advanced placement classes, the STEM learning, the after school robotics, all the things that keep those kids motivated. So when they finish with the paper pencil stuff, there's an opportunity for them to explore. However, if we have Leandro, professional development dollars could go to those teachers to give them the professional development they need to make sure that their classrooms are differentiated to
That's
meet a
right.
child
That's
like my
so,
brother, his needs.
That's right. That's right.
Rebecca, can you send me back to my room for 1 second? I got cut off.
Oh,
Or
I
maybe
can't,
my time may be up now. It's okay.
but
Okay. Okay.
I'm
would
back in
you
the
like
room
to
now.
share would you like to
Okay.
share
Okay. Yes, I
the
was just sharing with, yeah, I was just sharing with Mr. Bostic, a little bit about my background and that, now it's the Justice Institute at NCCU School of Law, which I previously co-directed. We hosted um, Rebecca Trammell's kickoff for I Am Leandro, because to me, this is the most fundamental justice issue. Everything, in my view, many things, if not most things, hinge on a basic education. There are a lot of other issues that we spend a lot of energy, resources, and due effort on fighting for, But this is the foundation. And if we can't get the foundation right, anything else we're building on is playing catch up. And those of us who care about the realization of the dreams of all of our children and their capacity to contribute rightfully to our society, I believe this has to be at the center of our efforts. And so that's why I'm here. And so that's why I was trying to finish up. Thank you for giving me the time, Rebecca, to share that.
Of course, this is actually everyone's time, and we got a little bit of a late start with just time to let everybody in the meeting, and so we're running probably 5 over. But this is the time when I wanted to give you the chance, anyone who would like to share, for as long as we have, like maybe the next 8 minutes, to share your I Am Leandro story. Does anybody want to share why Leandro versus North Carolina is personally impactful to them or important to them?
Yes. I'll jump in. Myself and Mr. Brown, we were speaking together, and what I had started off with, being a member of the American Federations of Professional Educators of North Carolina, and also the president of North Carolina A. Philip Randolph Institute. My sole mission is to bring resources to folks that need it. And if our children don't need these resources, I don't know who do. Leandro, everyone knows, been in the courts for too long, and it should have been passed a long time ago. They have been thumbing their nose at this, kicking the can down the road, whatever they want to say, and finally, they got the right people in there to dissolve it. Now, I work in marginalized communities. This is going to hurt us in marginalized communities more than anywhere else. And I have my goal for getting people registered to vote, making sure they get to the polls, and understanding the electoral process is needed because people need to be educated. And if they aren't being educated, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to understand the process and what it means to them in their lives. And if we don't do something about this, things are only going to get worse.
That's right.
This is only the beginning of a downfall of the society and the morals behind it. So I'm just flabbergasted, and I'm very disappointed, and I'm going to continue to do something, try to do whatever I can about it. And I'm just on your side. It's whatever you want me to do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I think you spoke to something very important, that this does impact the democratic process, because it's important. It was important to our founding fathers that we were literate as a society, and which is why public schools were started, because illiterate people cannot be self-governed. And that's and 68% of our children are not on track for college or career because of their lack of reading proficiency. I did just drop something in the chat, which is a copy of the Leandro Comprehensive Remedial Plan. I hope that you will take note of that, everyone. Does anyone else want to share in 1 to 2 minutes? Why are you Leandro, and what does it mean to you? Go ahead, Mr. Toro.
Hey, well, good evening, everybody. My name is Rafael Toro Jimenez. I'm a retired teacher from the state of New York, a former Marine officer, and I've been happily living in Wilmington, North Carolina for the last 11 years, and I'm currently one of the Hispanic commissioners here in New Hanover County. We're about ready to introduce and let everybody know. Rebecca has offered to give us a brief explanation of what's going on and enlighten everybody. And I totally feel that if it wasn't for public education, I wouldn't be here. It's a strong arm of the government. It teaches civil liberties. It teaches civil education. It teaches us how to stay in line, how to organize our rooms, how to become members of committees, how to join teams, how to perform in arts and music. That's what public education does. Private education just sterilizes and gets everything cold. The Leandro money is way past due. The fact that we're 51st in the state at the lowest child economic income is pathetic. As an educator, I'm very proud to achieve what I have, and I feel that opportunity still exists. And black, brown, yellow, red, I don't care what color you are, we still need public education, and it must be fully funded. Thank you.
Okay, can I put you on the spot, Jenny Lee?
Yeah, go ahead. Oh.
Can I?
Yeah.
Because you are a rock star teacher, and I would love to hear your voice.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jenny Lee. Wasn't ready for this. So I'm a married. I've got two kids of my own, a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old now. I'm also a third grade elementary school teacher at a year-round school in Wake County. I got connected with Rebecca when myself and a couple other people here in the Wake County area started NC Teachers in Action because we realized that teachers were not okay. And thanks to my meeting with Rebecca too, kind of put NC Teachers in Action and Leandro together because we worked out some demands that we had, and Leandro ended up kind of becoming the backbone for a lot of it. And if we could have Leandro funded, what that would do for our kids and our schools and our teachers, and like the respect that teachers have, and the fact that so many teachers are leaving the profession because we're just tired, we're exhausted, and we're taking pay cuts. And ultimately, it's the kids that have to pay for it. They have to pay the price because they have subs or they have people that are unqualified who are trying to teach them. And it's not fair at all. So, yeah, I don't know. That's, I guess, all I have, but I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm going to pass the mic to Mr. Scott. And then you guys can, I'm happy to stay on here to forever listening to your stories. I will be here, but Mr. Scott, that I'm going to make sure that we end on time.
All right. Thank you. I agree with what the brother from A. Philip Randolph said. Um, One, we have to teach people about voting, why you vote. It might sound simple, cliche, but it's the truth. Um, we have to go where they're at. And one of our guys that represents here, Iredell County, he is the co-sponsor of all this money going to private and charter schools. And we keep voting the same people back in to do the same thing to us. I don't understand it. That's where I'm at on this. You either educate kids or you build more jails. That's the simple fact of it. One of the two, we just get a lot of talk coming out of the mouth about how we believe our kids need to be educated, but we don't fund them. We let Mississippi take over, pass us by and teachers funding, paying teachers. You let Mississippi and North Carolina, we did used to lead the way at one time, but that's no more. So we're going to stay in this fight, and we just got to call them out when we see them.
I think that this is the hope that I want to give all of you tonight. And thank you for sharing, Mr. Scott. We still have a plan. We still have the Leandro Comprehensive Remedial Plan. That plan still works. The need for it hasn't gone away. The research that was done, the money that was invested, the time that we gave. Dr. James was on that committee. He actually participated in these interviews. We have the answers. Let's not act like we don't. We have the money. Let's not act like we don't. We could go right back to that plan. And I just heard that there was this blue ribbon commission that they just started that seems to be this kumbaya that between the Democrats and the Republicans saying we're going to do something about these schools. I have a suggestion for them. Why don't you fund Leandro? Let's not go back to ground zero. Not go back to the guessing game. Let's go and start there.
Rebecca, This is Marlene again. Yeah, I love you. Lisa, you set me on fire when you said that. We are going to, the NAACP Education Committee has drafted a letter with our NAACP logo and our Statesville branch information. That letter is an overall generic letter that we got from one of the resources. And we're going to be passing those out at first our membership meeting, but also to educators, whoever, saying, hey, all you have to do is put your name on it. We'll take it, we'll mail it, we'll make sure it gets to the right persons at the state legislative office, and really push that way. I think one of the things that I'm hearing is we need to know what to do. If we don't have people voting, then what else can we say to them? We can talk about Leandro. We can say, here's a letter, a petition you can sign to say, put it back. These are things that I think we can do if we can't get people to the polls to vote. So can you explore a little bit of that with us? Because I know what we're trying to do, but I know you've got some things in your pocket to share with us too.
Yes. So first of all, the most important thing that I really can say is get very familiar with the Leandro Comprehensive Remedial Plan. And I'm going to share my screen now. This is what we came here to talk about tonight. What can we do? Number one thing you can do, refine your story, share your story, share it in your school board meetings. Let them know that that there is a plan, and that just because the Supreme Court ruled in such a way that they're not requiring the state to enforce this plan, that doesn't mean that the Leandro Comprehensive Remedial Plan is not the answer. That doesn't mean that the North Carolina Supreme Court never had to rule one time on this case. The North Carolina General Assembly and the state could always, any day, do their constitutional job and fund education. And you can, at any point in time, share your story as to why you know this is important and why you know that the answer is right in front of us. And if you come down to this bottom ribbon, this is for all the people. This is for everyone who likes first source resources. This is West Ed's reports. You can read them in detail. And this is where I found the comprehensive remedial plan. This is a summary. The whole plan is hundreds and hundreds of pages. But this right here will tell you what will happen when they fund the Leandro plan. It's only 7 pages. I wanted to point that out, but these are things that you can do from right here. You could just kind of like follow and right here, there's the public school forum literally has all the court documents right here. If you want to go back and look at them all, they are all right here. I just wanted you to know that we have receipts. All right. So let's go to the take action part. Let's go to the take action part. We have a petition, and I updated it. This is a new one that reflects what just happened in the Supreme Court, and I'm going to drop it in but this is one thing that you can do. If you come to this one, you can get talking points, and these are just facts. These are stats and facts. If you want to find your local officials, you can do that here. But my main thing is I think that getting more people to go to social media and calls to the audience, public meetings, is going to be very helpful in letting the public know about Leandro, about the plan that still is viable, the $5.54 billion plan that could infuse our schools with so much support. You can also go to social media. We have great social media content that you can easily share. So here goes Dr. James right here. You don't even have to make your own post. You can just share what we already have. like, follow, share. It really, really helps create buzz and social awareness. We have an interdisciplinary conversation start survey, and we want to get more input from teachers and start building some community around these different disciplines. So you can just complete one of these surveys, and that will help inform how we reach out and kind of mobilize people. And we still give these presentations. Again, candidate commitment. I wanted to show you that. Candidate commitment, this is where you know where your elected officials stand. I asked all 1,240 people who are running for a state level seat, running for county level policymaking seats, every single one of them. The governor, the lieutenant governor, and a couple of other positions in the state DPI, which is Mo Green. So their statements are right here to this day. I just wanted to highlight, of course, you guys could read, you guys know, the resolutions are right here. And the template actually goes to a link that works. And you could still, it is still well worth it to download these resolutions, because it is mountains of research and evidence for the Leandro Comprehensive Remedial Plan, and it breaks down the decisions and the reasons and the people who have supported it over the years. I'm going to let you guys explore the website from here, but again, the main action page is take action. And I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to create a school, and when I get that school all together, I'm going to send you guys invitations to that school. We have a petition, and I updated it. So nobody signed this one yet. So somebody go ahead and be it first. Oh, hold on a second. That didn't work. Y'all, I am having a really hard day. I don't know why, but that didn't work. You know, it's just because I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm usually clumsy with technology, but not absolutely bad. This has been a rough day, but this is a new one that reflects what just happened in the Supreme Court, and I'm going to drop it in I'm going to update this website immediately after this meeting so you can see it. But this is one thing that you can do. Share this petition. It goes into depth into why, or it goes into an overview of why Leandro really isn't dead. It just has to change hands and how it's being administrated. If you come to this one, you can get talking points, and these are just facts. These are stats and facts about the Leandro plan, and that we're 50th in the country for per pupil spending, 43rd for teachers' salaries, 51st for investing our wealth. All of that is right here. And at the time that the Leandro plan was supposed to be funded, we had $8 billion in unreserved funds and $5 billion in unexpected revenue. You can go here and check out what the latest number is, how much money we have sitting around. $2.3 billion. We get a new budget in June, but they haven't even passed one for this year. So let's see what happens. If you want to find your local officials, you can do that here. But my main thing is, I think that getting more people to go to social media and calls to the audience, public meetings, is going to be very helpful in letting the public know about Leandro, about the plan that still is viable, the $5.54 billion plan that could infuse our schools with so much support. You can also go to social media. And then obviously this is right here. You can I'm going to update that obviously as well, because now that has to be updated. But at the bottom, at the end of the day, being able to share your I Am Leandra story, saying this is important, sign this petition. Going to the social media, I'm going to show you guys all of our social media right now. Let's go to Instagram. We have great social media content that you can easily share. So here goes Dr. James right here. You don't even have to make your own post. You can just share what we already have. Like, follow, share. It really, really helps create buzz and social awareness. We have an interdisciplinary conversation survey, and we want to get more input from teachers and start building some community around these different disciplines. So you can you can just complete one of these surveys, and that will help inform how we reach out and kind of mobilize people. And we still give these presentations. Again, we wanted the court to rule well, but they didn't have to rule well because they didn't have to rule to begin with. The obligation still stands. And that's like the main takeaway that I wanted to share with you tonight, is to tell your story loud and proud, and make sure that if you want us to give a presentation, let us know. We'd like to talk to you about that, what it could look like in your community. And let's see, the candidate commitment. I wanted to show you that. Candidate commitment, this is where you know where your elected officials stand. I asked all 1,240 people who are running for a state level seat, running for county level policymaking seats, every single one of them. And I'm sorry, all school board members and state representatives and legislators, and then the governor, the lieutenant governor, and a couple of other positions in the state DPI, which is Mo Green. So their statements are right here to this day. I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to reframe it, of course, and I'm not taking these down. I am only going to make another page and just add the years to it. So this is in here forever and ever and ever, that in 2024, these were the people who said our kids deserve to get the best education they possibly can. And for daggone sure, a sound basic education, if nothing else. We need to fund the Leandro plan. These were the ones who said that we will use our elected authority to the extent of our ability to fully fund and implement the Leandro Comprehensive Remedial Plan and support the corrective actions. These are the ones who said yes. And two guys, Erwin and George, they said no. But that's okay, because they stood 10 toes down and said it with their whole chest. They even added a personal statement to qualify their position. So I'm going to do it again in 2026. And I'd like to have your help. I'm going to need phone bankers to help us call these elected officials, these candidates, to say, where do you stand on funding? Where do you stand on funding the Leandro Comprehensive Remedial Plan? And do you still see that as a way forward? And yep, I'm going to tell all the journalists I know. And yes, I'm going to give them sample questions that they might or might not choose to ask in a forum. You know what? I might not have to be as delicate, because We Are Leandro is going to have some muscle. So yeah, that's where this is headed. So make sure, if you want to, I have your email addresses, and I'll be able to let you know about my school when it starts, and how we're going to use a tool called Common to do some phone banking. I'm going to invite you guys to actions so that you can help us do this, because you know what I'm learning? Whew, this is a whole lot for one person. I can't do it. So yeah, and also I just wanted to highlight, of course you guys could read, you guys know, the resolutions are right here. And the template actually goes to a link that works. And you could still, it is still well worth it to download these resolutions because it is mountains of research and evidence for the Leandro Comprehensive Remedial Plan, and it breaks down the decisions and the reasons and the people who have supported it over the years, including an amicus brief filed by 50 of the most well-known business people in the state of North Carolina. The business community spoke up. And some of y'all spoke up. I signed an amicus brief in 2022 as well. The people want this. And we need to make sure that the people know in 2026 who stands with us and who doesn't. I'm going to let you guys explore the website from here. But again, the main action page is take action. And I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to create a school. And when I get that school all together, I'm going to send you guys invitations to that school.